Hey class, my name is Professor Matthew Pitts, and I want to welcome you to Religious Studies 110 Religions of the World. This is an awesome class. I've taught this course, I think 3 or 4 times in the last few years. It's an important course, and it's something that I think, I personally think should be a requirement for all college students, everybody going through an undergrad. The purpose of an undergrad degree is to get sort of the concept of the classical education, the understanding of the things that you need to grasp to make sense of life, basically. And religion, I think, is one of them. To understand your fellow man, to understand geopolitics, to understand what's happening in the world, to understand the difference between the East and the West. Religion is at the heart of it. It's at the core. It's really at the heart of so many social issues that we deal with here in the United States as well. So to understand religion is to understand people, understand what motivates them, what makes them tick. And so I'm glad that you guys are in this course, and I hope that's something that you can gain from it. Now, you don't need to be a religious person or even a religious believer to be able to be successful in this class, or to gain important things, to gain important knowledge from this course. Now, if you are a religious believer, that's completely fine. You're going to maybe approach some of these things in a different way if you are a believer, because sometimes if religion historically has just been a method of devotion for you, so the devotional aspect, and you've never really looked at religion under an academic lens, then maybe some of the things that you read or some of the things we go through in this course are going to be a little bit different. It's going to feel a little bit different looking at these religious myths, and here I don't mean myths as something that's not true, but myths in terms of the basis of the stories that are told in religion. Looking at them through kind of like an academic microscope is going to maybe be a weird experience, but part of what we have to do as scholars is be able to set aside our beliefs, set aside the things that we believe internally, and be able to look at them objectively, right? And so that's, one of the very first things that I taught my children was the difference between objectivity and subjectivity is, how you see the world versus, how the world is to be seen. So hopefully within this course, you'll get more information and kind of more tools to be able to make sense of these things, and maybe even understand your own religious beliefs in a different way. So during this lecture for the next 15 or so minutes, I'm going to go through the syllabus. I'm going to let you know what you need to do to be successful in this course. All right, I'll try to be as succinct as I possibly can. I won't try to take up too much of your time, but I do want to make sure that you're aware of what's expected in this class. And if it's not something that, if you go through and you're like, I don't like that setup, I don't like the method, maybe the course isn't right for you. I'd rather you find that out and realize it now than when it's too late to drop the course, right? And I hope nobody drops. I hope that you stay in the class. I'd love to have you in the course. But I do want you to really listen closely, pay attention during this syllabus lecture so you can kind of determine what is the right fit for you. Okay? All right. So let's just kind of scroll through some of this. You can spend some time on the lecture, or excuse me, on the syllabus. It's in Canvas as well. There's one required text, Experiencing the World's Religions. It's kind of like an online book that you can either rent it or purchase it. So just follow that link. It's an awesome book, and we'll be spending time in that almost every week. And then there may be some other readings and things like that on some of the other weeks. So spend some time going through this. Academic dishonesty, let me just say something about that. I mean, a whole section needs to be written about AI. The last semester this last semester, I had a number of students that failed the final because they used AI on the essay question, and it was clear that they did. And we have tools for determining that as well. Just don't do it. Don't mess around with it, because this class is not difficult to the point where you'd have to resort to something like that. If you pay attention, if you put in the work, you'll learn these things for yourself, and you don't need some artificial intelligence that pulls together other sources and puts it in your words. That's not how it works. That's not why you're in school. All right, so let me just talk about the assignments. There are 1,000 points, and I'll go through each one of these assignments. Some of them are graded, some of them there's sort of like an objective standard, and like you get them right or you get them wrong. And then some of the other assignments you'll get credit for doing as long as you put forth the effort, and I'll explain that as well, because I want to make sure that you're rewarded for putting in consistent and regular effort. Okay, let's talk about how the structure of the course will work. So the course goes from Monday morning to Sunday evening. So each module will begin Monday morning and end Sunday evening. So you have until Sunday evening. It says 11:55. I think it probably meant to type 9 there, 11:59. You have basically until the end of Sunday to do your quiz, and I'll talk about that. So the first assignment that you have is 240 points. So it's just about a quarter of your grade. And this is the discussion posting. Because this isn't a live class, we don't have the ability to kind of learn from each other in a classroom environment. There's no hands being raised and kind of building off each other's comments and things like that. So this is the closest thing that we can get to it. And it's going to be an online forum. It's going to be posted every single week of the class. You'll have the ability to jump on and post on the online forum. Now, to get full credit for these points, all 240 points, you need to post 12 times during the semester. There's 16 weeks, I think, so you'll have basically an opportunity to have 3 or 4 weeks that you don't post. But other than that, you have to post. You can only get credit for 1 post a week, so you can't wait until 4 weeks are left in the semester and then pump out 12 postings. That just won't work. You'll get credit for 4 because you'll get credit for 1 each week. So I recommend just starting on it next week. Just starting and just doing it every week, and then if something comes up, you have a tough week at work or something like that, and you have to miss one, you've already kind of built up some in the bank. Now the postings are anywhere from about 8 to 9 sentences, 1 to 2 paragraphs, about 2 paragraphs, and I just want it to be your own thoughts. So you may react to the lecture, you may react to the readings, you may combine things from the readings and the lectures, you may react to videos that I've posted. I basically want your thoughts on what we're learning. I don't want you to just say, this week we studied da-da-da-da, and then just repeat what we went over. But I want you to really kind of engage with it. Like, what was interesting about it? What was different than what you thought? Maybe you were studying Hinduism and you had some preconceived notions from yoga and things like that on Hinduism, and you learned some things about it that put the whole thing in context, and it was interesting to you, and you want to write a couple of paragraphs about how your perception changed. That would be awesome, because that shows that you're putting in a thought, and you're not just regurgitating what has been said in the lecture and in the readings. Okay, so you'll have 12 postings due, and then you'll have 20 replies. The 20 replies are shorter, a couple of sentences. I don't want it to just be like, hey, great point, Johnny, or whatever. Like, I want you to actually engage. Maybe you disagree with what someone in one of their postings said, and you could respond to it. Everything needs to be very respectful to the religious, the religion specifically that we're talking about. Doesn't mean you can't be critical. You can't have critical analysis. That's fine. We need to be respectful of each other as we engage in this posting. So the replies, you do 20 of them. You can get credit for 2 of those a week. Okay, no more than 2 a week. Now, the posting has to be done by Thursday at 11:59, and the reason for that is that we don't want everybody waiting until Sunday night and doing their postings, and nobody has anything to respond to, and then there's a big mad rush during the last 2 hours of the night. So you have to post it by Thursday at 11:59 to get credit. You can post after that, but you just won't get credit for the week. So from the beginning of the period, or the beginning of the day on Monday up until Thursday at the very end of the night, you can post your posting. You just create a topic. You just create a post on the forum for that week, and then you get credit. So on the replies, you can do it at any time. Like, anytime you jump on there and there's someone else's post for the week, you can jump on and do the replies up until Sunday at midnight at 11:59. So basically, as soon as people start posting on Monday, you can start doing your replies anytime throughout the week. So again, 12 postings due by Thursday at 11:59, 1 posting per week for credit, 20 replies. Replies can be posted at any time during the week. They're responses to other people's postings, and you can get credit for 2 per week. All right. So if you do this you'll get full credit. You get the 240 points. I'm not going to go through in the same way I wouldn't go through and think, okay, so-and-so raised their hand and the comment wasn't that good, so they're going to get a B- on that. I'm not going to do that with your postings, right? I'm not going to go through and kind of review them in that way. But what I will do, because I do read through the postings and through the forums, is that if I feel like you're not putting forth enough effort, then I'll contact you and I'll say, hey, I need to see a little bit more. I need to see more analysis. I need, these are too short. You're only doing a few sentences. And then I'll give you a chance to kind of fix it. And if you're still doing it, then I'll start deducting points from your total. All right. So don't leave points on the table. Just do it right. Do not use AI. Like I said, I have ways of finding that out, but just, don't deprive yourself of this experience, by just putting into AI, it'd be easy to type into ChatGPT, just create, some sort of reaction to the following or whatever. Just don't do it. Just do it on your own. And that's the way that you're going to get a real kind of engaging experience in this course. All right. So that's the first assignment. That's the first place where points come from. The others are module quizzes. This is more the objective standard. It's not so much what, your analysis, but just whether or not you get the question right. And there is still a place for this, so study closely, listen closely to the lectures and to the readings, and there will be a 15-minute time limit for the quizzes, 15 questions. So just make sure that you study and take notes on the quizzes and things like that. You can use those notes during your quizzes. That's fine with me. You can take the quiz at any time after Friday morning. So the quizzes will be posted every Friday morning. So all Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you have to take the quiz. If I mess up and I don't get the quiz out on time, or there's a technical issue or something like that, let's say it's Sunday and I haven't posted the quiz yet, then I won't post a quiz because I don't want to put you guys in a bad situation because I made a mistake, right? So if I do make a mistake, I'll take responsibility and I will give you full credit. In fact, you'll find as you go to jump on and take the quizzes, there'll be a couple quizzes throughout the semester where you'll just get credit and you'll get a free quiz. I won't tell you about it because I need you to prepare for it. But when you jump on Friday, you'll find out that you got a free quiz and everybody gets the points for that particular week. Okay. All right. Lived religion assignment. This one is cool. This one will be fun. So I want you to attend a house of worship at some point during the semester. It can be Eastern religion, Western religion, whatever, Christianity, Judaism, anything that you'd like that's different than your professed belief. So if you attend church, right, if you attend a Baptist church or something, I'd like you to go to an Islamic mosque or something like that, or a synagogue or temple. You could even go to a different Christian denomination or something like that, as long as it's something that's different than what you practice. Now, let me just say that I remember being younger and being a religious person and thinking that it felt like some sort of betrayal of my own religious beliefs by attending some other faith. And I just hope that you can see a little bit past that because, I learned that in time, first of all, from a spiritual perspective, that there's beauty in all religious faiths and religious faith traditions that try to find meaning in their life, just as there's beauty in so many different things. But also, you're looking at religion through an academic lens, and so I'm not asking you to go worship at these places, these houses of worship. I'm asking you to go observe and see what the experience is like. Because we can study a lot of things academically, we can do a lot of readings, and we can understand the beliefs of these different faith traditions, and we can even understand how they practice, but we can't really get a sense of it or a feeling of it without the lived experience and seeing people actually in action doing it. So almost without fail, this becomes the most memorable part of the course. And that's probably the thing that you'll remember about the course years after you take it. So really take advantage of this, make it a good experience. You can reach out to the house of worship beforehand and ask if they have any instructions for visitors or however you want to do it. You can just show up at most places. But I want you to write a 2-page paper, double spaced, just explaining your experience. I mean, treat it sort of like a discussion response, with that level of analysis. Go into what was different than what you thought, or, what stuck out to you, kind of walk me through what happened, things like that. And as long as you do that, you get full credit on this. I'm not going to go through and say, no, your experience wasn't meaningful enough. That's C plus or whatever. Like, do it, put the effort in. I want to see that you really put in that effort to observe this lived religious experience, and you'll get the full 150 points. And keep in mind of the due dates. You got most of the semester to do this, but not the entire semester. So week 12, Monday by 11:59, your paper's due. So you got to make sure that you have done it before then. Okay, next source of points is the research paper. Research paper, I treat this a lot like a graduate school course, so you have the entire semester to write the paper. You may curse me for that when it comes to the end, because you should be studying for finals and you're writing your paper. But, keep in mind that, this is just so you can have all the time that you need. Some students may appreciate an earlier deadline, but if you're like that, just set an earlier deadline for yourself and get it in. The box, or the submission folder, will be open much earlier for submitting your paper, so you can get it in whenever you'd like. But I definitely recommend you start considering a research paper proposal, and that you start working on your research. Now, let me say something about research papers, because some of you may be brand new to college. You're really going to want to learn to research and write pretty quickly, and even those that have done it before, it's a craft that you just want to keep honing. Because I'll tell you, let's say you go into medicine and you're going to be writing reports. You go into law, you're going to be writing briefs. It helps to be able to formulate your thoughts and do that research and pull it together to make an argument. And that's what you're doing with a research paper. Research paper is not just a recitation of other sources. Sometimes I'll grade a research paper and I'll look and there's 2 sources cited. Well, then I know that they're just taking what other people have said. Now, this isn't a thesis or a dissertation. You're not coming up with something that the world has never thought of before, which is kind of the standard for a dissertation. But you still want to put your thoughts in it. So if I see 8 to 10 to 12 sources, even though you're pulling ideas from other sources, that's what you do when you do research. You pull together these different ideas from the existing literature, and you come up with a new argument for yourself. So first of all, you come up with a thesis statement based on your research, and then you prove it through your research, and you demonstrate it. And you're honest in your research as to what it says. You don't just come up with an idea beforehand and only find sources that prove that, right? So a good way to start is to go to the library and ask the research librarian if you can see the section on religion or on any specific religion that you're looking at. And then just start pulling books off the shelf and start considering topics and think about what you're interested in. Now, you may want to take some time in the course, take the first, 4, 5, 6 weeks or whatever, and see what interests you, and then choose something. And that would work just fine. So let me say something about the topic, because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. The topic can be anything that's religious in nature, right? Anything that ties to the course. Even if there's a faith tradition we didn't talk about, I mean, there will be plenty that we're not able to get to, right? Zoroastrianism, or the Sikh. I think we do talk about Sikhs, but there's going to be a lot of faith traditions that we don't talk about, and if you want to focus on them for the paper, that's fine. Just make sure that it's related to the concepts of religious studies and of world religions. You can compare and contrast religions with respect to certain practices. But another key here is that when you're coming up with your topic, you don't want to be overly broad. So a good topic would not be Christianity. It's way too broad. It wouldn't even want to be Christianity versus Judaism or compared to Judaism. Way too broad. Get in and dig in a little bit, like the concept of prayer within Christianity and Judaism. Compare and contrast. Now you're talking about something that really gets into something more specific and is much more online for what you're supposed to do in a research paper. Another thing is that the university has resources in terms of how to write research papers. Take advantage of those. If you're new or if you're struggling with how to write a research paper, do research online. Watch YouTube videos, how to write a research paper, and come up with good suggestions on how to do it. Now, you need at least 2 primary sources. A primary source is basically a source of somebody that watched it happen. So let's just think of ancient sources like, writings of Plato, Aristotle, the Greek philosophers, the Bible itself, the ancient Jewish historians, Josephus, the Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism. That there's just a lot of different, the Quran, a lot of different primary sources. It's the original sources or the people that saw it happen, what you're researching. Secondary sources are those that took those primary sources and wrote about it. This is what happened based on all the people that saw it happen. That's a secondary source. So you need it. Most of what you're going to research will be secondary sources, but you need to have at least 2 primary sources. So let's say the Bible is one, or the Quran, or whatever you're studying, the Book of Mormon, or something like that. These are all primary sources if you're doing analysis that fit into those specific topics. All right. If you have any questions, contact me. All right. Let's see. Finally, there will be the final exam, and this may change. The dates are going to stick, but like I said, I had some people that used AI, and I just don't want to put you guys in that situation. I want there to be a little more accountability. So I'm thinking about how to potentially structure the final exam a little different. Up until now, what I've done is just create 4 separate modules that are like quizzes, basically, that you can take at any time. You don't even have to take all 4 of them at the same time, but you take them like you do quizzes throughout the period they have to take the final. You just have to make sure that you get them done. The problem is, even though I made rules against using AI and against using online sources, a lot of the students just kind of walked right through that and did it anyway. So I'm just trying to think if there's some other software that I'm going to use for the final exam, and I'll keep you posted on that. But basically, it'll be true or false questions. There will be a fair amount of multiple choice, and then there'll be an essay question as well to kind of synthesize what you've learned, and you'll have probably 3 or 4 different topics to choose from, and you'll pick one out of those topics to write on. All right, and so this and the research paper, this is graded. The research paper will be graded for content and for style and for grammar and things like that. And the same thing with the final exam. This will be graded effectively by the computer like the quizzes. Okay. So I'll let you go through the assignments and the weeks and things like that. This isn't really set in stone. I may add or subtract some things from here. So just make sure that you jump on and check Canvas at the beginning of each week. So let me just go through and do a final review of kind of what to expect for the course. So every Monday you'll jump on, you'll have readings and a lecture. Now, one thing to say about that is that the readings and the lecture won't always follow the same thing. Right, we're trying to cover a lot in this course, so the lecture might be about one religious tradition and the readings might be about another, but they'll always kind of fit together. Like we may talk about Hinduism and Jainism or something like that, or Hinduism and Sikhism, these religions that are close in regional places and things like that. So just keep that in mind, that you can't just do the readings and not the lecture, because they're going to be covering different things. All right, so you'll jump on Monday morning, you'll have the lectures, the readings, you'll have any other videos or anything else that you'll have to watch that will be posted there on Canvas. You'll have a forum that's open that you can start posting on. Okay, start doing the readings, watching the lecture, post your forum posting by Thursday at 11:59. Remember, you don't have to post every week, but you got to get 12 of the weeks, and only 1 posting per week will count. And then at any point in the week, you can start doing your replies as you respond to other people's postings. And then Friday in the morning, the quiz will be up. It'll be the first time you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to take it, and you'll have 1 chance to take the quiz up through the end of the night on Sunday night. Make sure that your technology is working, because if you're trying to take it from your phone or from a laptop in the park with spotty reception or something, the system will like shut you out, and it'll submit your quiz, and that'll be it. So make sure that you're taking from, and it's hard to let people back in, because a lot of times they've seen the answers, they've seen the questions to the quiz already, and then I just don't want to put them in that situation of already having that information and taking it again. So make sure that you are taking it from a reliable place. Okay, again, this is an exciting course. I think this can teach you a lot about life, about yourself, about those around you, about the nation in which you live, about the world in which you live, if you allow it to. Please let me know if you have any questions. My email and phone number on there. Phone is always the best way to get a hold of me. My email kind of conflicts with my full-time work email, because they're both on Outlook, and sometimes I don't see it. And that includes the submissions through Canvas, if you message me through Canvas. So the best way to do it is text message or phone call if you can. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Hope to have a great semester. Thank you.